Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to the fourth National Young Entrepreneurs Conference. Today's topic is impact and importance of digital transformation in banking and financial sector. Let me introduce you with the panelists today. We have with us Mr. Fayaz Maula, Country Head, Retail Banking, Liability and Product Development, Habib Bank Limited. We have with us
Assalamualaikum.
Mr. Syed Mohammad Kamal, Country Manager, Mastercard. Mr. Shafiq R. Ibrahim, Chief Digital Information Officer, Al Fardan Exchange. And we are privileged to have Mr. Maruful Islam Chalok, Director, Nabot. Welcome everyone at today's panel. So without further ado, I would like to start with Maula Bhai. Bhaiya, if you can, put some light on the importance of digitalization in the banking and
Yeah.
financial sectors and the services.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks goes to the organizers for organizing this session on importance of digitization of banking and impact, and also the financial industry. To start with, I would like to take you through some of the key vitals of Bangladesh economy, which will actually help us to understand the impact and the importance. So, as to let you know, and all of you know, that our population, young crowd, and the other vitals are really enviable compared to our, neighboring or peer countries. Um, with around 160 million plus population, the median age, and the young people, the young entrepreneurs. For your information, almost 35% of our population is aging 26 or less. And if you look at the urbanization rate of Bangladesh, it is almost catching up at 4%, and no time with all other indicators like our nominal GDP stands at around 320 plus billion, with per capita currently touching 1900 plus, foreign direct investment around 2.6 billion, and at last month, if you look at the remittance, it was all-time highest of 2.569 billion dollar. With that, and you all know, if you don't just note it, like we have got the highest in remittance, or I would say the balance, reserve balance currently. With that, what are the aspects and the importance and impact of, digitization and banking? To go to that, I would like to let you know the very, very important few vitals like internet subscriber, and it actually grew, 5 times in last half of the decade. Currently stands at 106.41 million users, internet users, as of July 2020, out of which 97, almost 98 million mobile internet user, and remaining 8.5 to 6 of them are broadband and WiMAX. If you look at the other vitals like ATM machines, automated teller machines, almost 11,000 plus, cash deposit machine, almost 1,500 plus. If you look at I have my colleague here, Kamal, would add more on this. Debit cards, if you look at that, it grew to almost 200, I mean, um, 20, 29, 21.9 million. Year-on-year growth is 46 million, whereas debit card is around 19.7, vis-a-vis credit card of 1.5 million. With that, I'd like to take you through a few of the key drivers of our economy. Ready-made garments, as you know, we actually are behind at this point of time from second to third, but we will certainly catch up. and other indicators like micro entrepreneurship, the leather industry, the jute industry, FMCG, and lastly, ICT, um, you know, um, probabilities. If you look at the current risk rating of our country and the outlook, Moody, Standard, and Fitch all said stable. Moody's BA3, S&P BB minus, Fitch BB minus, and all. So with that, today's topic really actually give you the fact what is the impact and the importance. I would say to start with as a banker that the total money currency flow in Bangladesh is around 3.2 trillion taka, which actually requires almost 450 crores taka each year for replenishment, maintenance of this cash flow, not to just to add new currency and others, but to maintain the whole thing. So with that, if we look at the recent changes and the transformation Bangladesh has gone through with the introduction of auto clearing house batch 1, now we have batch 2 with multi-currency capabilities, EFT, BFTN, and all others. Like digitization has taken Bangladesh to such a position. Bangladesh should become almost the second country to enable with the instant payment. And you all know, I mean, besides these digital payment channels, there would be interoperable payment systems being introduced pretty soon. So impactfully, what I would say, it would reduce transaction cost, it would ease up the business processes, so it will ensure ease of doing business. Uh, it would also promote the financial inclusion, and finally, I would say the AML, financial crime, and all the other issues to be addressed. Few suggestions, and I would say that from banking perspective, we have seen recently Bangladesh Bank has circulated to introduce the eKYC, and we are on target. I have had quite a few discussions with my banking fellow colleagues and all, and we are counting. So with that, I would say the e-wallet, mobile banking, electronic collection, direct debit, we will actually, would see a transformation of this banking. We would see, lot of physical presence and banking is reducing vis-a-vis, the banks will bring in the branches, to the clients. With that, I would like to refer to my conductor. Sanjana, to you.
Sanjana, you are on mute if you're speaking.
Sorry about that. With that, we will quickly move to Mr. Syed Mohammad Kamal, Country Manager, Mastercard. Syed, hi. During pandemic situation, COVID situation, we have seen, many big milestone being achieved in in terms of digitalization in banking and financial institutions. See, we have seen the interoperable QR codes being introduced, and also we have seen eKYC being introduced, and some other cryptocurrency based technology being adopted. And we have also witnessed that during COVID, the usage of debit and credit cards by Bangladeshi population has significantly increased, especially in the month of July. It has reached to a significant number. So where do you see, Bangladesh after the digitalization of entire banking and financial procedures, and are we ready to, adopt that transformation? And having said that, I would also like to ask you one more question. We after these digitalization of banking and financial services, do you think the card processing charges and the interest rate of card and the all these expenses will go down for the consumers? I would like to ask you about that. Kamal bhai, if
Thank you,
can.
Sanjana. Thank you, Sanjana. And very good evening to all of you. And Fayaz has already given some good statistics already. I will not get into that statistics part. I believe it's already, he has given all the macroeconomical statistics. So during the COVID period, it's almost 6 months now. Like we are sitting on the 19th of September. It's close to 6 months of this lockdown we have seen. And what we have seen, like especially in the banking industry, things what would be done in next 5 years or at least minimum 4 years, we have seen things have moved to that direction in last 6 months. You are talking about adaptability. I believe people have started adapting digital payments very, very strongly in this 6 months period. You know it very well, and I believe most of our panelists know it also. WHO has given a suggestion about a move towards contactless payments, and there is a reason behind it. Fayaz has talked about cost of cash or handling of cash, but at the same time, safety security during this period was a key factor. COVID has changed the way we live. COVID has changed the way we shop. If you see, earlier we were very comfortable going to the shops and doing all our shopping. But at least for the first 2 months of this COVID, at least April and May, what we have seen, we did all through online. There was a problem with online at the beginning, as because at that point in time, people were bit panicked. The online, especially the digital commerce industry, they were in short of delivery men. The delivery men actually went back to their village home. There was an issue at that point in time, but gradually and slowly it has developed, and we have seen starting from groceries and then medicine and everything. We actually try to bring it to our home through online media. And when you are talking about online purchases, definitely digital payments are key there. We have seen at the beginning of the pandemic, people actually started doing online, but through cash, as because the delivery was not very much ensured that if I'm giving an order of 1,000 taka grocery, whether I will get that entire 1,000 taka delivery or not. So people did not choose the option of digital payments. But what we have seen, especially from later part of May until now, things are moving very, very fast, and people have actually adopted most of the contactless payment. When I'm talking about contactless payment, I'm not talking about only cards here. Jhalak is also here. I'm talking about the entire digital payment ecosystem. It has evolved. The way we have seen, even during the beginning of the pandemic, we launched a ad money service with Nagod. That time, all the ministers and everyone was there, and we have launched it. Why we have launched it? Like, this ad money service was actually giving the real interoperability between card and the MFS market of the country. In a common scenario, if you want to cash in a MFS wallet, you have to go to a location. That was the usual process. But with this card ad money service or transfer from bank accounts have actually eased up the process, and people don't need to go to the cash out points or cash in points, but they can transfer the money from their bank account or from cards to wallets, and they can do their shopping or mobile recharge or whatever they want to do. So it was a true interoperability we have seen during this pandemic also. And what we have also seen, few of the banks, they have also moved to a digital banking mode. Few of the applications might be submitted in Bangladesh to Bangladesh Bank. I know about Nagod also. So things are moving significantly well. And what we have seen, even the banks have actually moved very fast to adapt this digital transformation of this COVID situation. Yes, the digital transaction increased significantly, no doubt about it. we run like this time, like it was really different than usual process. Like whenever, like say for example, during the time of Eid al-Fitr or Pohela Boishakh, we see a huge number of lifestyle shopping. This year, that has completely gone. It's because people were busy buying their daily necessity, their medicine, their groceries, and everything during the month of April or even the later part of May when the Eid al-Fitr happened. But did we lose so many things? I don't think so. First 2 months was bad, but we came back very strong. Especially this digital transaction came back very strong from June, and July was the one of the best months for this digital transaction in Bangladesh. So it has been transformed. People have started adopting all this digital mode. People are doing a lot of recharge through mobile recharge through digital means. People are sending money from A to B through MFS. People are doing a lot of shopping through cards. And what we are also saying, and keep one thing in mind, like we are missing the entire volume of international transaction at this point in time, which contributes almost 25 to 30% of the each bank's portfolio. Despite of that, July was one of the best months for the digital transaction for this country. We have, as a country, if you go by bank, it was better than even February. So the overall digital market, especially the card industry, has came back very strong in July. So what I feel, this is the right time for Bangladesh to go to the next level. So maybe you have seen one of my interviews yesterday. I was actually talking about incentivizing for digital transaction. I will come back a little more about it in my later time when you will give me another space. Thank you very much. Over to
Thank
Sanjana.
you. Thank you, Kamal Bhai. We will quickly move towards Jhalok Bhai. Jhalok Bhai, as you know, for digital, for achieving, Digital Bangladesh Mission 2021, digital financial inclusion is very important. So where do you think Nagad fits into achieving that, mission of Bangladesh? And we have already seen Nagad started its journey in 2019, and it sure became being the second, largest MFS in Bangladesh. So this is one, question towards you. And the second thing is that, do you think that Nagad recently wanted to, become a digital bank or opt for becoming a DG bank? So do you think this will help our, rural entrepreneurs in loan disbursement or, providing other, financial support through Nagad? So over to you, Jhalok Bhai.
Thank you, Sanjana. Good evening, everyone. I'll walk you through to the entire journey, where we started, where we are, and why we started. And this is for a platform for the young entrepreneurs. So I want to, walk them with our journey. So first, when we started thinking about digital financial service or mobile financial service, what we figured out that only 36% of the population are banked. So there is a major portion, which is 64%, was still unbanked. So in a report in 2019 from Bangladesh Bank, it says that 56 banks in Bangladesh is catering 11%, and 21 mobile financial services was catering 22%. So that's altogether 36%. But we had a gap of 64% to be converted into banked. So that's how the inclusion started. Now, for my young fellas, the young entrepreneurs, when all fresh young bloods, they start a startup, the first thing they think that we will do a disruption in the market. So that's how, having the last entrant in a year and a half, we became the second, and we now are called the fastest growing MFS in Bangladesh. So how it started, we figured out very, root cause analysis. We found that if you want to open a bank account, it takes minimum 7 to 10 days, and there is a form which is at least 8 to 10 pages. So you have to fill out all the forms. And for our customers, having the last entrant in a year and a half, we became the second, and we now are called the fastest growing MFS in Bangladesh. So how it started, we figured out very, basically, we figured out that in a MFS with a paper KYC, you have to take a picture, a passport size photocopy, then a photocopy of your national ID card, and then a 2-page form, and you have to wait another 5 to 7 days for that form to be collected by the headquarters, and do the necessary checkings like national ID card is valid or invalid. So many things were there. We disrupted the market with 2 features. Number one was electronic KYC, or we call it DKYC. The launching ceremony, Kamal Bhai was present on that day. We completely digitalized the entire KYC system. So you just need to take pictures of your national ID card, and we were the first who introduced the OCR. You don't have to write anything. All the information in our KYC being filled up automatically. Then you take a selfie, and that selfie picture was verified with a 3-way authentication. Number one was to match with the national ID card you provided, and along with the Election Commission database. So the picture can never be fake, So if somebody tries, Fayaz Bhai talked about security, so that's one of the core purpose I am sharing this information with you. Like, there is no way 23 points we match with the picture that you are providing with the information you stored in the Election Commission. So we can pinpointly say that this is the right person or not. And then the entire journey, it's so smooth that, at the end, you ended up opening your own account by self-registration, or you can walk to any of the retailers and you can request that I want to have an Nagad account, and it takes 4 to 5 minutes nowadays. So the importance of digital transformation gave us the opportunity to disrupt the entire market. And in a 1.5 year time, our customer is now 2.1 crore. That's how we became the second, and we are being called the fastest, world's fastest growing MFS. Another thing we introduced during that time when we launched, it's called send money to any phone. So you don't have to have an account to receive the money, but to withdraw the money, you have to have the account. So you had 2 options that time. Just walk to a retailer and request that I want to have an account, or you can do a self-registration. Now, that the digital transformation is a continuous process. Technological innovation, it has to be always there. Now, what we are coming up with, that is something more wow. It will take only 10 seconds for you to be our customer. If you already aware that we have started Robi based conversion, and GP based conversion is in our pipeline. So all you need is just put your cell phone number, and you just click next, and they will ask for your PIN number to reset. Because at the back end, what we're gonna do, we will take that mobile number, we will request the MNOs to provide us with all the information that our KYC requires. So technological transformation can give you the opportunity, where there were 21 players, 4 giants were there, and still we could hit the market the right moment, and 1.5 year we have 28% market share. So Kamal Bhai is there. So Kamal Bhai was talking about add money from card. Right now, if anybody wants to use our service, or let's say in the middle of the night he forgot to pay his internet bill or maybe his electricity bill, all he or she needs to do, download the app, take selfie, change the PIN, then he maybe got a MasterCard, just add money from the MasterCard, and we have so many billers connected with us, and you simply can pay the bill. So you don't have to worry for that. And last information before I conclude, I want to share that the impact, the impact, 78% of the mobile financial service has gone up as of 2019 and 2020. So you can imagine in 2020, we had 63,000 crore transaction volume in July, which was much, much lower in 2019. I would like to, finish it right now here, and I want Sanjana to continue. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jhaluk Bhai, for your insightful discussion. So, finally, towards Shafiq. Shafiq, I would like to, discuss more about the, cross-border payments and what are the, technological advancements over there in global stature, and where do we stand in Bangladesh, and are we ready to adopt that, technological advancement here in Bangladesh as well? Over to you, Shafiq.
All right, Sanjana, thank you. And good evening, everyone. And Jhaluk Bhai, I think you're doing a great job, really impressive what you have done. And I think that's where the real example of digital transformation or using the right technology is an example. And Sanjana, to answer your question on where the Bangladesh stands, I think Jhaluk Bhai has just really very well, kind of conveyed where Bangladesh really stands when it comes to digital transformation. So I wouldn't say much on that. I think that's a very good example of open banking, open APIs, collaborations, using RPAs probably, and the bots in place of all that's right now what Nagat is probably using. And thank you, Faiz Bhai and Kamal Bhai for giving us a brief on where the banking is really moving, especially in Bangladesh, right? A huge potential, I would say, though the remittance has increased to Bangladesh, but I believe within the country itself, there's a huge potential that we see, especially in banking. With the COVID, I mean, as what Faiz and Kamal Bhai said, with COVID, the two things happened. Not only did the business start adopting to technology, which went really faster, but it also trained the end users. So earlier, the end users, so the consumers were very reluctant. They didn't have enough confidence on technology or the services provided through the technology. So there was always a learning curve, and it was very slow. So what happened with the businesses, they were mandated to serve the consumers, digitally, because that's the only way to do, right? And then the consumers didn't have an option but to go and try, start using the digital platform, using mobile app, using the other automated channels for them, the e-commerce and all. So they got the confidence within the 6 months of being comfortable with the technology. And that was a good kind of a marriage between the business and the consumers on the digital front. Now, when we talk about on the cross-border remittances, we have come a long way in terms of how we really do our transfers, but still there's a lot to do. I have been to Bangladesh last time, met a couple of banks, because that was our engagement with the banks over there. And that was, I believe, 2 or 3 years back. And at that time, I felt there's still a lot to do in Bangladesh, because not many banks were ready with basic APIs for the remittances, right? And I believe they are now. But back then, it was more file-based transfers, and we all know the challenges that we have when you do an SFTP or file-based transactions, in terms of the delay, in terms of service quality, in terms of security. So a lot of aspects are there. But now we do see that the banks are getting into APIs. We spoke about blockchain a couple of times, but again, I think still we'll wait for a couple of years more till we have really a blockchain-based transfers. Having said this thing, as Al Fardan, I have already worked on a platform, a blockchain platform for microfinance for remittances with one of the countries. Probably Bangladesh might be the next one. So we are exploring that for a microfinance or remittance through the blockchain. So that's one area that we're working on, and especially on developing countries. Again, when we speak about consumers now, the consumers have changed the behavior, right? Earlier, it's like the consumer used to walk to your branch or to a bank. Okay, now then they start going to ATMs. Okay, and then the whole the concept of consumer interaction changed to laptops and mobile, and now we are also moving away from your mobile handsets to voice now, using Siri and Alexa, and that's where we are moving towards, right? So the consumer is one step ahead of us, I would say. So earlier we used to call them, but now we are chasing consumers to where they are, and that also raises the question shall we launch a mobile app, right? Now the consumers probably are one step ahead. They don't want your mobile app as well. Now they want you to be there in their app which they use. And that's why we see WeChat, for example, WhatsApp for business and WhatsApp for financial services, that's coming up. So that's where the whole industry is moving, and that's where our banking is moving. And that's when we speak about open APIs, collaboration. One of the good examples what Jhaluk just mentioned, about the eKYC, customer onboarding. I mean, congrats to you, Jhaluk. You have done that in many other countries, and especially the country I belong to. We are still struggling with eKYC, to be honest. We are still in the phase of adopting to that. So that's again, and then the very interesting thing that you said, about getting information from MNOs. And that's a very good collaboration between a financial institute and MNOs, which doesn't happen in many of the countries. So again, congrats to what you're doing. So I mean, this is where the things are moving. Now, in terms of digital transformation, I mean, especially like talking a bit aside from financial services, but going beyond that and talking about what the users need. I mean, users, they need services, but then most of the time, we as a business, we focus on the front end. We just focus on the app. We focus on the customer experiences, but usually we miss out the back end part of it. The automation that we can do at the back end, because the service delivery happens at the back end as well. We kind of are not very much focused on the APIs that we develop. How open are we to collaborate? That's one thing. Are we using the AI to understand the customer behavior, the customer requirements, the kind of services that they need? Because many of the times our marketing budget also goes into a random broadcast to the customers rather than being more focused, more targeted. So this is where it is. And that's where a huge change that's coming in. Fintech and startups are the other players who come and they collaborate with the financial institute, right? And they come with a single area or pain point that they need to address. And this is where they've been very successful, right? And this is what I think they need to do. I mean, one of the reasons why Nugget, Jhalak, and the team were successful, because they understood what the pain points are. And they started, addressing those pain points rather than living with the legacy. And that's where the challenge is. So most of the time, like, most of the big players, like even for us, we come with a legacy of system. And to change the legacy, it becomes challenging. And the best way to go forward is to work with those fintechs or with those startups, like, who have that kind of a solution, integrate, to your core business and to move forward. Our relationship with Bangladesh is pretty old, and we are, again, Bangladesh is one of the largest remittance receiver, and after India and Pakistan and all. But that's a huge market for us as well. And what we are doing also, we are exploring various ways. We're working with various banks in Bangladesh to see how we can provide instant remittances to the customer 24/7, because I do understand, like, there were some challenges when you talk about remitting, maybe 24/7, there was to be a cutoff time. And that has to change, and where the customer can remit anytime, because now the customer can, on the remittance side, he has the option to remit anytime, 24/7. But similarly, we have to see on the receiving side, can he receive 24/7? That's one thing. And not only receive, can he encash it 24/7? So that's very important. So I believe we all are working towards that. And again, digital plays a key role in that one. And one of the important thing I would say on a lighter note is what the digital has done. Digital has brought everyone on one platform. Okay, so the illiterates, like, unbanked, uneducated, they are as good as we are, because they don't sign anymore. They use a thumb impression, and we do the same today. We don't sign, we use a thumb impression, right? I mean, if I want to log into my account today, I use my thumb biometric, right? This is one thing. And the moment we go for digital KYC, then it's as good as anybody else. He's going to scan the card. I'm going to scan the card too. He's going to use the verification as biometric. I'm going to do the same thing. That means now we have brought everyone on the same level. So there's no excuse for us now to say, like, that we cannot target those customers because they are not literate, they're not educated. I believe we have crossed that stage now, and digital has already enabled, a seamless service for everybody. Like, it's just a matter of how we kind of, bring those unbanked into banking, and that's the kind of model that we need to look at. Because even today, when we do remittances, we also see, like, so one of the things that we have seen, especially in Bangladesh, the transfers have increased. But the good sign is the bank transfers have increased too, because earlier the cash was higher, still it is, but the bank transfer also increasing, which is a good sign for the banking. So yeah, I mean, that's from my side, Sanjana. Over to you, and I think we can discuss further on the various other aspects of, especially tech and digital.
Thank you very much, Shafiq. আমরা যদি একটু ফায়াজ ভাইয়ের কাছে আবার যাই।
Exactly. Thank you very much. Carry on. বলো।
জি, আমরা ডিজিটালাইজেশনের কথা বলছি, পলিসিগতভাবে are we better equipped or do we have that infrastructural framework to adopt these changes?
Basically, I was coming to that point. আমি ওখানেই যেতে চাচ্ছিলাম. Firstly, if you see, one of your actually sponsor today, Bida, and all the entrepreneurs are here, young especially, right? So what they have done a lot of services, especially, one-stop service. Look at them. They tried to combine all those services, eating, is election commission secretariat verification of NIDs. They have also enabled RGSC, registered for joint stock companies, submission and all, uh, security service division enabler. They also enabled the banking through online transaction through Sonali Bank and lot more. What we are to see is like connecting already have done. I mean, MFS, banks, other financial institutions, they have enabled that, the other infrastructure, especially the power and also the tax collection of it, and also enabling with the city corporation and other development authorities who actually are involved in that. If you look at our total tax collection in 2019-20, and the target we are being given, like government has set yeah, to themselves for due for 2020-21, all that, with that we see a huge opportunity. We have seen the disruption, digital disruption, with the automation, B2C, B2B, C2C, all that, and also most importantly, currently, what the normalcy we have seen due to the COVID pandemic. We are to see this is an opening of, or I would say sign for the next change or climate change or other disruptions coming in as a natural calamity. And for that, Kamal talked about, touchless services and payments and on. And for the young entrepreneurs, I would say the opportunities are there. Like there are so many banks, they spend billions of takas for their banking software. They're spending billions of takas, especially foreign banks. They're spending billions of takas in outsourcing their shared service and other services. Um, we are actually looking for payment intermediaries. We are looking for APIs, ERP solution, host-to-host solution, and all other. They are the places where you can really make changes. We are to see lot more payment intermediaries coming to this bank. We are to see lot of marketplaces being popularized. We are to see more of a financial inclusion, not only in terms of reducing the cost, but also changing the legal framework, law, investment required, and finally, I would say, I mean, apart from AML and CFT, that is information security. With all that, all this digital disruption getting into our banking and financial industry, we need to keep in cognizance that we need huge investment, not only in terms of developing new processes and policies, friendly, touchless, mobile app, lot more. Like a QR would be coming. IDTP, World Bank has taken up, and with the ICT Ministry and ICT and Bangladesh Bank are working on that interoperable transaction platform. They are already a digital transaction platform. So it's all happening, and all for good reason. And I would actually request all my fellow young entrepreneurs who are attending this, session today, please be mindful of the opportunities I've talked about, the disruption I've touched upon, and my fellow, speakers today, they have touched upon. Keep in mind, think about it, and you are actually the future of Bangladesh. So with that, I would, ask Sanjana to take the lead.
থ্যাংক ইউ ফায়াজ ভাই। আমরা যদি এখন একটু কামল ভাইয়ের কাছে যেতে পারি। Kamal bhai,
Yeah.
when we talk about digitization, there is also certain risk associated with it. What are the technology that we should inherit to, control the cyber risk and also the inherent risk of card processing and other, digital payments?
Okay, Sanjana, thank you very much. It's a very, very timed question, actually. So while we are adapting the new technology, transformation, everything is good. but the security needs to be taken care of. So if I will talk about my area, the card industry, we are getting hundreds of thousands of hit every day. And when you're talking about today's scenario, it is not a freelancer hacker who is doing this hacking. It's like structured hacking is trying to hit the entire system. But we, as a scheme, as well as I will also talk about the banks in Bangladesh, all are investing a huge amount of money behind security and safety. So when there is a disruption coming, like especially on this digital transaction and transformation, so there might be some sort of risk will be there. But if we talk about especially for Bangladesh, the risks are actually minimum. And we have protected with our banking community, we have protected a lot of such hits in recent years also. So what I can tell here to our young viewers today, especially, see, Bangladesh as a nation is a very young nation. It's our median age is very young. So we are the most adaptable nation in the world, and our young crowd is the main asset for adapting this new technology and new transformation. I would always encourage our young crowd to do digital payments and digital transaction. Why I'm telling so? See, if we see the especially the e-commerce area or any other areas where actually we see lot of these young crowds are now started transacting. We have some products only for the young crowds who are actually 18 years of age and plus, don't have the eligibility to get a credit card or credit eligibility, but they can get a prepaid card. What we are seeing when we run a campaign, we are seeing hundreds of thousands of such young crowds. They are doing a lot of transaction digitally, and sometimes they get some award or incentive for that. So I believe the safety security part is well taken care of by the schemes and the banks here in Bangladesh. I will encourage all our young friends here who are watching this session to do more digital transaction. That will help them to be a part of the nation's GDP, to contribute to the GDP. And at the same time, we always need to understand one thing: cash is the biggest enemy. So we always dream for a world beyond cash. At the same time, if you are doing digital transaction, actually you are contributing to the nation's economy. Fayaz was talking about the our per capita income. I believe it has already crossed $2,000, which is significantly, which has increased in very recent years. So Shafiq was also talking about the remittance. It's very close to my heart as well, as because I worked in Western Union before joining to MasterCard. So the remittance, what is happening here in Bangladesh, it's very good. But we also have a fear that maybe this huge amount of remittance coming to Bangladesh, will it continue? As because we alone cannot actually, during this pandemic period, maybe if you see our GDP growth, it's projected at 5.3%, whereas many of the countries' GDP has gone to negative 25, 23% even. So many of the countries are projecting minus GDP growth this year, but still we are projecting 5.3. How we can do that? As because we have a strong base of this remittance, we have a strong base of our RMG, and if digital transaction can be a part of this entire journey, think about Bangladesh as a nation with a young crowd. At the same time, all the indicators are very positive. And if more people will contribute towards this digital transformation, think about country. Nobody can stop us. We can continue grow, and we despite of any sort of pandemic or any sort of disaster, we are actually dealing with a lot of national calamities every year. So despite of that, we are growing significantly well. Fayaz was talking about our MFS numbers, cards numbers, everything. All are encouraging numbers. Nothing is like April, May was the panic months. So we cannot take those months as our benchmark months. But we can talk about July. We can talk about August. Even this August was a month immediately after Eid. We have seen usually next month to Eid was always a lean month. It was not like that this year. People are doing a lot of work. We are seeing when the tourism sector has opened up on 18th of August, people started going to Cox's Bazar, other part of the country. All the domestic airlines have actually increased their frequency of flights. it's a new normal. We have to adapt it, and we are very, very confident that with this young population, we can adapt this situation, and at the same time, we can grow our country the way we have projected, the way we have dreamt, and the way our government's mission to become a digital Bangladesh by 2021. Let's dream for a less cash society. I cannot tell about cashless society at this point in time. Let's first dream about less cash society. Let's achieve that. And the way Nagod, Bikash, and all the MFS are doing, the way they are actually bringing more people to the digital economy. Jhalok was talking about 34% financial inclusion in early years. It's changing now. It's getting like, though MFS is quasi banking, but it's a first step towards financial inclusion. I believe the way we are moving, it's towards the right direction. And if we can continue this, nothing can stop us. I can assure you all, like, we are taking care of the safety security part. Don't worry about it. Just carry on with the digital transformation and digital transaction. That would be key for now. Thank you very much, Sanjana. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry once again. So if we can come back to Jhalok Bhai, we have seen that with the growth of MFS and wallets, mobile wallets across the country, still the cash out from the mobile wallets are significantly high. The pricing of cash out is still high. The charges are still on the higher side. আর আরেকটা যেটা আমরা অবজার্ভ করেছি যে mostly rural people are cashing out it from their wallets, but they are not being able to utilize it for further purchase from the retail outlets in a rural economy, from a rural infrastructure. So where do you see Nagod will bring in a change over there by reducing the cash out pricing, at the same time creating enabling infrastructure for more financial inclusivity, especially in the rural economy?
Thank you, Sanjana. I mean, this is something today's forum, the young crowd who are listening to us today, they should think about it, like how we can take the leverage of those banks, MFS, and reach out to the rural, as you mentioned. I mean, you mentioned about the e-commerce side or the merchants. So they are there. They have enormous options over there to connect the dots, with the payment platform, with the rural or suburban areas markets. So this is a eye-opening session, I would say, for those who are listening to us very carefully. I mean, obviously the untapped market is there. I mean, rural area is not yet catered by merchants or e-commerce sites. So this is something you should think about it. And Sanjana, what was your second question? I just would you mind repeating the second one?
Yes, the first question was financial inclusivity, and the second is the commission, cash out commission. How would you, yes, cash out charges?
Okay. I mean, we are already lower in the market in terms of cash out charge, and we are still working on it. And we are very hopeful that we will, reach out to a desired cash out charge as per our rural or suburban needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jhalok Bhai. Shafiq, quickly, we are running out of time. So if I can ask you, many a time we discuss that Bangladesh lacks, infrastructural framework in terms of cross-border payments. When we talk about different CBS or different types of API all across the Bangladeshi banks, it's very difficult for a entity to connect with each and every bank and adopt the different API. So how significant do you think the unified payment interface would be for Bangladesh remittance market? At the same time, I would like to ask another question: how important it is to introduce the blockchain system or Ripple technology in terms of cross-border payments? Would it be a beneficial venture for Bangladesh or not? The question to you. Shafiq, very quickly.
Right. Yeah. So let me answer the second question first. Right. In terms of blockchain. Right now, see, the thing is, in Bangladesh, we have a legal and illegal modes of transfer that's happening. Right now, a quick answer for you to know is like, because if we have conceptually, okay, if you have a blockchain-based inward remittances governed by the Central Bank of Bangladesh, right, where all the banks are connected to that central depository, then most of the issues are solved. You will have a clear indication of what exactly the remittances are, because today the number that is here, those are official numbers. All the official numbers must be much more higher than that, right? Which means that as a country, we're losing on that, right? So a blockchain would help, right? But again, the blockchain initiated by a bank will not be successful. It has to be initiated by a regulator who says, you know what, everyone has to be part of my network, right? So every transfer that comes in and out is monitored, is well controlled, right? That's a use case. Ripple, I work with them. That's a different solution. So if you don't have an API, or let's say if you are working with multiple partners across the globe, and if you don't want to do multiple API, then you connect to Ripple, just like Swift you do, and then you get access to multiple networks, right? This is one thing. But a single aggregator model of an API would really help. Because today, if a bank wants to work with one partner in a country, then imagine how many partners they're integrating with. Huge task. Huge task initially, huge task operationally, and to manage is a huge task, right? This is one thing. But the APIs are very important. Blockchain is something that we were discussing. We know the value of it, but it's the first step that needs to be taken. And honestly, I've seen success rates.
I will cut you short over here, so we are running out of time.
Sorry. Okay.
I don't want this session to end over here. We will catch up later on.
Sanjana, we have NPSB. Central Bank has enabled all bank come together and affect the payment. So we have NPSB, and the batch 1, now batch 2 with multiple currency capability. It's all there, and rightly said, it is there. Central Bank is taking care of it, and the legal framework needed to be done around it.
So thank you everyone for connecting with us today. So we would like to thank our strategic partner ESGP Bija. We would like to thank our media partner Brand Event 360. We would like to thank our media partner Daily Star and Shomokal. Thank you everyone for joining with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.